But just set it right there, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, hello. In all the confusion, we're back. And this is for you. This is a time to see what are your questions, what's coming up. I have a particular heart's desire for us to look at, ooh, what do I do with my hair? Look at how to work with people from a place of presence. I think you have something really unique to offer about how you come to people, but I'd like to hear from you guys. Any questions you have or any topics you have that you would like? Yeah, Roxanne.
Yeah, and I like what you brought up about working with people or just talking with people about their well, this month we did the life cycles. So Saturn return and Chiron return and Uranus opposition. So we've got all these celestial things happening, and it creates these moments or periods in our lives where we're dealing with big transitions or the opportunity to heal things. And I was just curious, knowing that we were going to be meeting with Polly today, Polly, to get your perspective on what's going on. I mean, because our life isn't just a bed of roses or whatever. I mean, there are like major shifts that happen in our lives. And I was just curious if it, I don't know, to me, it seems that I just had the thought, well, there's, what's the purpose behind all this? We're going through all this. Is it all on behalf of our awakening? Or, I mean, because I know not everybody awakens. I was just curious as to your perspective as to what's going on with these life cycles, why they're happening or whatever.
Do you mean not just our personal life cycles, but the global life cycles that we're in?
What do you mean global? What do you mean by global?
Like all the shifts that are happening in the 2027 and like you're talking about life cycles as a personal life cycle, what we've been studying.
Right. And yeah, and I guess that would be great to bring in the collective, or what's just happening globally too. I mean, yeah, but I was thinking about it more individually.
Yeah, the movement of energies and frequencies, that's what's represented. All of these planets, all of them are basically archetypes of experience. That's why they have names. They were named as if they were gods, right? Because they have the impact of that. But the true north place to come from is one's own clarity. And then whatever shows up, you can be in response connection to it. But if you're caught in a fear-based aspect of your identity, right? In other words, the me, the one that can be basically screwed with or triggered, or if that's still operative, then the influences that these will have will feel like they land in your experience, right? When our true nature, we're living from not the me, but from the one I am, and we're living through our design, then it's like what's it like? It's like ease, and it's like whatever arises can be seen and then experienced to the degree that it is of benefit to both oneself and one's world, right? But it's reality is very, very local. Reality is right here, right now, with the one I am.
Regardless of the global
Right.
shifts, regardless of the personal shifts.
Right. Now, what is right here with me, with the one I am, will be influenced or colored by those larger things, but I am not, and so that points to a kind of influence, a kind of tonality that might come with these larger shifts through what we think of as the far out, heavy moving planets like Uranus or Pluto or whatever. But everything about what we are about is so local. It's so right here. Our contribution to reality, to the quantum field, has to do with our own clarity. It has to do with us, if we are triggered, doing the work, clearing the space, knowing ourselves as the one I am, not the me that believes she can't do anything right or will never fulfill her purpose, right? The whole idea of I mean, I really did fall in love with Ra Uruhu's idea of the puzzle pieces that we all represent. I think there've been some diagrams back when I could actually see that represented that, but staying with what's true for me, what's going on right here, what's happening right here, what's my ability to transcend, my ability to transform, my ability to not be caught in fear, and when I am, to do the work. But everything is handled locally. Whatever's going on with you, with any one of us right here, right now, that's where we enter into our participation in the larger reality. There's a way in which it sounds untrue, but there's a way in which there is no larger reality. I mean, we have put our attention particles out and created all kinds of what we think of as news and entertainment and influencing and all of that, but everything is right here, right? Everything is available to us in this present moment, right here where I am.
Is this in the vicinity of your question, Roxanne?
Yeah, yes.
She's
I-
used to me.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, and I don't know that I really got to fully formulate the question. It was something that popped into my mind this morning when I was out for a walk. So yeah, I do appreciate I appreciate that though, because it really does. It just comes back to me as awake awareness. It doesn't matter what's going on. And it's when I'm caught in the ego, then there's going to be it can be tumultuous or whatever, or
Yeah, the
but
ego is corollary to the mind, and when you're caught in your mind, it'll be caught in polarity, and then it'll look like there's a way that it should be, and it's not that way, and that is a frequency that's fundamentally underpinned by fear. So it never serves us, and it's never actually true. It is whatever it is. We don't need to know what it is in order to be clear and present on our own behalf in the moment.
yeah.
So this brings up a very interesting thing for me when we're looking at life cycles. And I was on a call this week where someone shared a study about memory. So partly what we look at life cycles, we're looking at, my first Saturn return. What was my memory of that, right? And that I just want to say in light of what Polly's saying, our memory of that can change. Our experience of that can change, right? So right now we might think, I look back at that first Saturn return and that was really a disaster. You do the oils, this is what happened to me. I'll do the oils like, oh, wow, compassion for that, a whole different response and relationship to it, which changes then how I go forward, if that makes sense. Roxanne, are we tracking here? So in this study, they had people, open head here, forgive me for a second. They had people write down when the first rocket ship launch was, something like that. And everybody wrote down where they were and what they felt about it. And then, 20 years later, 30 years later, they asked people again where they were and what they felt about it. And their answers were different. Even where they were during it was different. And they showed them what they wrote originally. And they said, yeah, that's my writing, but this is what really happened.
I think it was about the Challenger.
The Challenger. Yeah, it was about the
Mhm.
Challenger. Yeah, it's about the Challenger. So
The mind.
the mind, it's shifting turf here. So we don't want to grab hold of anything too tightly. We want to stay engaged in curiosity, in the moment,
Mhm.
in our relationship to it. There's nothing fixed in the past.
There's no past.
There is no past. Okay, well, then there's that. We're going to go quantum. Okay, no past. So we just don't want to get too literal with anything. We want to be in the engagement of it.
Okay. Yeah, if we're going going quantum, yeah, there is no past. So yeah, here we spent I've spent the last month looking at the past. Because all these
It's a both and, because obviously we don't have bodies, but here we are in
yeah,
bodies.
right.
I mean, I don't even know if you exist. I'm looking at you through the computer screen.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you're an AI bot for all
I
I know.
could be. Yes.
Yeah, and even as we're doing the 6 steps, or any other process for that matter, what arises that matches that could be exactly like this group that was trying to report what their experience of the Challenger explosion was. And it's different now, right? The lens through which we perceive when we get to what my conclusion was is different now, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work to effect a clearing in consciousness, which is what we're looking to do. We're looking to clear out the limitations in consciousness that created the fear-based me, because that fear-based me is going to be seeing reality, and as viewed so appears, seeing reality through a distortion lens, and then the quantum field responds showing up as that limitation, right?
I'm getting a lot of head nods as you.
Oh, that's, yeah, I can't see those, but I mean,
Yeah.
we could be in India. Mhm.
No, don't confuse us, Polly. Mhm. Yeah. Any other, thank you, Roxanne. Anyone else have something that's juicy, alive, curious, wondering? Yeah, Eloisa.
No, I was listening to a really, what I thought was a good video that talked about the Hermetic laws. And it reminded me of the phrase that you used, Polly, that we cannot, well, something that you said, you can't solve a problem at the level of the problem. And they talked about just emotional alchemy. And I heard you say this morning, because I was like, what does that mean? Every time you say, like, I kind of know what it means. But what I heard you say this morning, I don't know if I just made it up, but is that you just shift your energy. Like, it's as simple as that within the time of the moment. Like, if you shift your energy to a higher vibration, that is not the same level as the problem. So it's a matter of just getting present, getting grounded, go to gratitude, or do whatever it is that we can do to shift, to do the emotional alchemy. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, it's that shift is using your attention. Uh, you know, I often talk about a kind of meme that I came upon a few years ago that I call the universal human paradigm. And it goes like this. There's a way that it should be, it's not that way, and it's somebody's fault, right? Which locks us in at the level of the problem. And that's where most minds are locked in. And so when we just back out and allow more spaciousness around something, more possibility, that shifts the frequency, Eloisa, that you're pointing to, right? And relaxing the mind, the field of allowing is such a vibrant, alive, in this moment potential possibility, whereas the mind caught up in cause and effect is based in the past, and it's based in the need to control. So that that backing away, that allowing more spaciousness, and seeing that I think it's in Paul Levy's book that he points to, it's not just this or that. In other words, polarity. It could be both and or neither or. There could be all kinds of mutations, possibilities, probabilities within the consideration. And that's much more in keeping with the Hermetics.
So I don't know if this fits or not, but my personal experience is it's not about, yeah, it's not like going to it's not like going to something. It's relaxing back into that field of allowing that you're talking about, where everything is included. So I'm not pushing anything away. And in that space, I enter a different stratosphere. The picture changes because I'm not creating shadow. I'm not pushing something away to try to have a certain picture. The allowing of all is the highest frequency. It's that oneness place. And for me, it's a sitting back. That it's so simple. It's really sitting back, sitting back, sitting back.
Yeah, the rational analytic mind is the epitome of what we call the fall, falling out of a sense of connection and oneness with in the story, the garden, and each other. We went into our minds and needed to know and label everything. And that limitation is a very that's literally the frequency of fear, because the point of labeling everything and understanding everything was motivated by the need to control. And so we open ourselves up into larger possibilities. It's like we probably all have had children that were caught, or we were children that were caught with our hand in the cookie jar, right? And what we don't want is for mommy to feel that the only answer is that you did it. Yeah. But we do that all the time, and all of our considerations, like, well, you were the only one in the room and the pot fell over, it's like, but the opening into, because reality is malleable, it's not set, it's not what the reason the mind wants to believe that it is what I just pointed to. It wants control. And so freeing up from the need to control makes possibilities just happen, flower, arise.
In that quantum possibility way that the mind can't imagine.
That part's not our business. This part of freeing up, of allowing, and then the field has possibility, and it arises, it shows up differently.
Yeah, one of the things that I was talking to Barbara about this because it's gonna be our birthday. Woo-hoo. Happy early birthday, Barbara. And we were talking about, I hope you don't mind that I say that, we were both kind of feeling a little bit of friction and tension over the last few weeks before our birthday. And I was like, what's that all about? And she said that it's actually probably quite natural to do that. And she was giving me a perspective. in the cycles and things. And it's just things that needed to come out and just be expressed. And for me, it was being with you guys in the cauldron that is this program. It's always about you. It's always about me, right? It's always about me. And like all judgment is self-judgment. And what has really kind of shifted a little bit is this idea that that I need to hold my differences with love, right? So I am not self-realized. I make a lot of mistakes. There's lots of things that I could be doing better. And that's not the problem, actually. The problem is just that I want it to be different, but I'm not holding myself with love and allowance. And it manifests as judgment and other kinds of things that makes my life more complicated. So, yeah, thank you.
I'm just having uh-oh, tomorrow's your birthday too. I didn't put you in the newsletter.
Oh, that's okay.
Uh-oh,
That's all right.
uh-oh, it's your birthday too. Oh my gosh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
I think I'll just say this. This is not a poly thing. I'll just say this. I think that as we're cycling around, we're back in that womb birthing thing, and that we go through the wobble of reincarnation every time we come up to our birth time, and that that's, yeah, it's challenges come up in that week before for sure. That's my experience. Maybe you already knew that. Okay, Heidi, thank you, Eloisa, and just really big birthday blessings for you. I have something I want to share with you at another time.
Yeah, happy birthday, Eloisa. Much love
And
to you.
Barbara's tomorrow.
And happy birthday, Barbara. I'll do that on my own separately, but group two. So Robin, when you were talking, we sort of moved ahead to a different iteration, but I was struck by something and wanted to share it. Back in the 80s, I used to listen to a pain meditation by Stephen Levine. And what he would do was he'd take the sore. I had I think terrible knee pain from a ski accident. And he would take people to the source of the pain and then put the attention on the muscles around it and let them have space and uncontract, not the pain, not the source, but around it. And then the people he found started describing it not as pain, but as different sensations. And it was similar to what you were talking about, but on the level of the body. You were talking about the mind, about sitting back. I loved that, hearing that. That was so good about you don't move forward to a higher level. You just sit back. We're already awake. We just sit back into a deeper truth that allows that, and that's also with the body. It hits with anything. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I've never forgotten that, and it's just really always very really touched me to give space around something that's not just mental, not just physical, but even emotional. Just giving room for it, letting it be there. I just wanted to share that. If you have a question or anything.
Thanks, Hyde.
Yeah, it's really true, because with any, regardless of whether it's the body, the mind, or the emotions, whatever it is, creating more space allows it to not be so strident, so specific, so invasive. It allows it movement. It's a brilliant understanding of energy and the way that it works. Yeah, thank you, Heidi.
Karina, I know that's not exactly a hand, but I'm just wondering if there's an unconscious gesture there.
There is a question. I was just trying to formulate it and seeing the time as well. I think I think my question coming in was about the sentence that I often hear you speak to, Pali, about bringing the attention particles back in. And I was wondering what exactly, I kind of know the sense of what that means, but I was wondering what exactly that meant. And is it coming back to that awake awareness that we are coming back to more of a witnessing position? Or is it again like sitting back like we've just described in our minds? I'm just trying to think of how I would bring my attention particles back in when I'm triggered, or just before I'm about, like how I could avoid jumping into the trigger thought, and identifying with it as opposed to bringing my attention particles back in.
Right. Well, the metaphor that I use, the one of paying attention, it's like what occurs upon incarnation, right? That the infant is dependent. I mean, it's the joke of the human condition that most other animals come in and they're ready to rock and roll at about 24 hours at the most, right? Whether they're little piglets or little horses or whatever. Oh, but we come in and we are dependent. And so the setup is already in place for our attention to be out towards our caretakers. What happens then is that we use that and the ever increasing amount of information that we receive as we become more cognitively astute, we start to measure and observe and calibrate what's going on out there. And out there feels to us, because it was in fact true, that if the out there didn't bring us the food or change our diapers, we're pretty much going to be annihilated. So this is sort of the trap that creates us to be externally referenced, external attention out there. So when we come home to ourselves through this work, then the attention is present here, and I have the experience of moving into whatever, but nothing pulls my attention. Now, when we're triggered, our attention has been pulled into an experience and a conclusion out of that, right? So what all that we actually have in order to create our experience is our attention. We can have a little bit of attention over there. That's why I call it attention particles. We can have a little attention over there, a little over there, a little in the past, a lot maybe in the future. But it's when we are right here, right now, that experience of presence in this moment, that's when our attention particles are back. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Yeah, that was really helpful just to hear that spoken out.
Yeah, it's like you can feel when, like, say that you are right now, we're in my little apartment here in on Maui, and there are windows mostly around. Right now I'm engaged in this this Zoom class, which I'm loving. But if someone started to walk, I would see them go past the windows. My attention might go out to see who that is, because it's not anybody that's supposed to be coming here now, right? So our attention is always what we're using to calibrate, to engage in our experience. But the most important thing is to be right here, true north. And from this place, unless you're caught in fear or unless you're caught in reaction, then you are available. In that case, if that person walked up, I might walk over to the door and say, this is not your appointment time, or whatever was required, but I would still be present, true north, on my own behalf. So it's a practice, actually, and it's a very powerful one.
I have two thoughts here, or maybe three, because what I'm hearing you saying is they come in here, you don't go out there.
Very good. Yes.
And so you're
Yeah.
in response to yourself, really.
That's right.
I think of two things. One is, Byron Katie used to say, my business, your business, and God's business. So
Only 3 times.
being on your own behalf is your business. All the other businesses are not your, those are all you're going out, right? Your attention going to something you don't have any control over, you don't have any business with, but we do have business with ourselves. That's one thing. The other thing I heard someone say recently is that when you incarnate, you splat. We come in and we just splat all over the place. And then we're walking around with parts of ourselves, interacting in the world with parts of ourselves. And our job is to bring our particles back, gather all of that back. So, you know, and what you say so beautifully is, yeah, we splat and our attention particles are out on mom, are out on survival. The dependency on the external is real as an infant.
Yeah.
So we have those neurotransmitters, we have those neural pathways set to be to survive. Is mom there? Am I going to get fed? Am I going to get my needs met? So we're bringing that back.
That's very good.
Yeah. But it, you know, I find for myself a bot, you know, kind of like meditation with a object or without an object. Like sometimes for me, a body place, my belly center, something that anchors me in my body helps bring my attention particles back. That just works for me. Might not work for other people.
Like what?
Like when I come to my spine and just am I aware of my spine.
Put your attention there.
I put my
got it.
attention there, then I'm back with me. I'm back with me, I'm back with my spine. What's happening up there is happening up there, but I'm anchored in a felt sense of myself. That's just a kind of a training wheels way of bringing those attention particles back. I don't know what you think about that or not.
Oh, I think it's probably helpful.
Or for me, my tailbone or my belly center, something like that is like, oh, and then there's an awakefulness that goes with that for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Karina. I think this process of bringing our attention particles back, I know for me, working with Polly, has been one of the big journeys.
Mhm.
And also in that has been the not being afraid of being triggered,
Mhm.
not trying to control not being triggered. Like triggered, oh good. Okay, wow. Woohoo, you know, not like triggered wrong, bad. I'm off track, I'm not awake, something's wrong. It's just like, okay, sit back and
Information.
let's sit back and be with that. There's a doorway here, there's a portal here. The universe is speaking to me, telling me where I'm splat. You know, time to bring some part of me back. That's all, not bad, not wrong. Because that brain of ours wants to go polarities.
Yeah, we cannot dispel or we cannot allow the fear-based me to be dispelled except through acknowledging where we are attached to it, which will be based in resistance and fear. And so the triggers are like, I always say they're like gold, you know, this is what's going to tell you which piece is still gripping, which piece is still lodging you in the identification with being a person, with being a me that needs to get something or avoid something to be okay, that's caught in fear. That can only be, that's undone by using a trigger to find the conclusion that's operative.
So it's like there's a crying wound that needs to be held. That's going to dissolve that conclusion. That like the trigger is like a crying wound. It's like it's crying, it's saying,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, and it's believing something about itself. Crying baby. Anyway, that's helpful for me to think of it that
Yeah, I
way.
think so. Mhm.
Every time you say the me is wounded, the conclusion is based on a wound. It's like,
Mhm.
instead of judging myself for that,
Right.
there's a compassion and there's a meeting of it.
Beautiful.
We have more.
Yeah, go ahead. We have a few minutes.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed is that every trigger seems to come in from the mind. It's so funny. It's like it's in the spleen, but then it's in the mind. It's my ESP, but then it's in the mind. Will center mind. It seems like maybe there's something that stirs up in that center, but it's always like a belief or something. So when we talk about beliefs, would you always, are they mind stuff?
Yeah, the mind will always use them to run the show. That was what we call the fall, right? Falling out of our hearts, out of the field of allowing and into our minds. And so everything gets pulled into and gets labeled by, named by, and by the mind. So the mind will always, and that's a good notice, right? The fear comes up, the mind tells the story. The emotional wave comes up, the mind has the story. So it'll always be participating.
I just want to differentiate a little bit with the chart
Sure.
with Eloisa since it's her birthday.
Mhm.
And we did this yesterday with Barbara and Yanette. So she's got an open head, and definition everywhere except for the G and the will center. So there's two things. One is the emotional solar plexus and the mind and the spleen and the mind are like in cahoots. They're always in cahoots. They operate together. Fear, the mind is going to do something with it, right? Body response, the mind is going to categorize it. Emotional solar plexus, I think, I think Katie used to say the mind always precedes the feeling. I don't know if you, I know different people say different things about that.
I do believe that the mind and then the feeling comes after. It seems to me, I'm not.
So just for you to explore, Eloisa, what the open head does with the feelings, what the open head does with the fears. And especially the open head with the gate 63 of doubt. How that twists it, and I don't know, Barbara, if from yesterday you have any thoughts for Eloisa. But I would really, you have all this consistent single focus access to all of this, right? You're connected, you're totally connected. And then your head is doing something with the whole system.
Yeah, I really loved your description of the ESP being a turbo motor. I'm like, yeah, that's right, because it's connected to the other motors. It is a very powerful thing, that little ESP.
It's a very powerful thing.
I've experienced it, like, I remember I was talking about observing boredom and how sometimes, like, I'll just notice that it's not a stillness. There's a like there's a difference between stillness and calm and this boredom thing. Like I can tell the difference right away. There's like this underlying restlessness with the boredom. Like it's almost like there's a body of water and you gotta grab a stick and you wanna tap the water with the stick to make it move, you know? And I've noticed that that's what this 35, 36 do sometimes. And I've noticed that I'm like, oh, I wonder what my sisters are, I wonder what's going on with my extended family, because I know that'll get my ESP all riled up. But I don't need to do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me wanting to get activation. It's funny.
Yeah, and again, we can put it in context of the chart of open identity center. Oh, maybe you want to you're like missing an identity or trying to create some identity or missing some value and stirring things up so that you can, get some value. I don't know. I'm just playing with you here, but it's part of the whole. I don't know if that's helpful at all, Eloisa, but
Yeah, Well, thank you so much. I really am getting a lot from this course. Thank you. Thank you,
Uh,
Polly. I've been listening to your songs. They're marvelous.
She's been listening to satsangs.
Oh, great. So glad to have you, sweetheart. Yeah.
Okay, any last thing before we come to a close here? Yeah.
I'll just share. I've been sitting here thinking, should I share it? Should I not? And I had a very powerful experience with Karina's question about, or that topic about bringing the attention particles back. And it was, I spent the last 8 months in Maine living with my cousin, John, and he had this mannerism. He moves very fast. I mean, he does everything fast. He's a projector, and he's just, I mean, so like on Wednesdays he would go into the local watering hole after work. So he'd come home and get changed, and he would come bursting out of the room. He wouldn't just open the door. He'd burst out of the room and run down the stairs and go grab his keys and go. And I found myself getting very irritated and angry. Or, if we, heaven forbid, we were both in the kitchen at the same time, I was going to get run over because he was moving so fast. And I did. The irritation and anger were showing up. And I heard Polly saying, bring your attention particles back. So after, weeks of this going on, and me not being okay because he was acting this way, I did it. It's like, okay, I didn't do the 6 steps. I just brought my attention particles back, and and it was just being with myself, and I realized I feel scared. I feel startled. I feel threatened. I don't feel okay. It's dangerous being, either him bursting out of the room or, getting run over. I felt scared. So every time I got triggered, I just came back to myself and just had compassion for that little girl, the little girl who was scared. And it really shifted my whole experience of living with him. And so that's just an example, or for me, of how I've used that concept of bringing my attention particles back. It's just giving myself what I need in the moment, and yeah.
Right. And when your attention particles are out, there is much more possibility of feeling insecure or feeling threatened, because it's sort of like they're hanging out there. They can be messed with, right? So it's being true north, present here, is our true nature. That's our integrated presence, right? And then from this place expressing. And so it is a really good thing to be aware of. Yeah.
Thank you, Roxanne. That was beautiful. Yeah, we learn from each other's experience, right? What someone says can be the thing. We never know who in the field is going to say the thing that's going to, like, oh, make it concrete, make it real for us, give an opening. All right, we are going to end by bringing our hands to our hearts and just wishing so deeply Barbara and Eloisa, like, bringing their attention particles back to themselves, taking this opportunity of this birthday to come home, to reconfigure their splat, and just for each of us to take this journey right where we are, to sit back more in who we are, in the love that we are, and allow. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank
Thank you. All right. Take care.